Welcome back to the Oscars. With 6 nominations, the next nominee for Best Picture is Tar. Ladies and gentlemen, AFI Life Achievement Award recipients, Al Pacino and Robert De Niro.
Atención, porque en apenas 15 segundos sabremos quién se lleva el Latin Grammy a la grabación del año.
Perfect. Political turmoil escalated again today across Central Europe and Southeast Asia, with several more outbreaks of violence being directly attributed to new features released in limited beta form last week on social media platform Tram. What would Dr. Peter Attia think of your results? Learn how to test yourself at 60minutesovertime.com. Please welcome, from Snoopy Presents One-of-a-Kind Marcy, Emmy nominee Ariana McDonald, and from the Emmy-winning Craggle Rock, Back to the Rock, Sprocket, performed by John Tartaglia.
Hello and welcome to American Stories. I'm Saida Pagan. Our guest for this episode is Sylvia Villagran. In the world of voiceovers, she is considered royalty. Sylvia is one of only a handful of voice actors who has had the privilege of performing at such iconic events as the Academy Awards, the Emmys, the Tonys, and the list goes on and on. She joins us now to talk about her impressive career and what her accomplishments might mean for others. Thank you for joining us, Sylvia.
Thank you so much for inviting me on your show, Saida. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, Sylvia, I know that this year, in talking with you earlier, that this year has been really busy for you. Tell us about what you have been doing in the world of voiceovers.
Well, I literally just got off doing the Latin Grammys just like a few days ago. But prior to that, this year has been very busy. I did the Critics' Choice Awards. I've done the Daytime Emmys. I did also Premio Juventud and Premio Lo Nuestro. And I did the 2026 Grammy nomination announcement. So that was very exciting. And I have a few other things coming up this month, and very exciting. A lot of exciting work.
I have to ask you this. If ever in your wildest dreams you would have thought that this would be happening to you, not that you're not deserving, but tell me your feelings and your thoughts.
Never. I mean, this was, I didn't even know that this career existed, honestly. I think I grew up as most, actors do. I was very chatty, and I really just loved learning about people and watching behaviors and noticing things about their voice and things and the way they spoke and mannerisms. And so to me, that was just endlessly fascinating. And I grew up in a Spanish-speaking household. It was only Spanish spoken at home. And at the time, that was really an anomaly because back in the day, you basically were not allowed to speak Spanish out in the world. That was very frowned upon. So when I would, growing up, I grew up on, Spanish language television, Spanish language radio, Spanish language newspapers. Everything was in Spanish, conversations at the dinner table. So out in the world, I had to learn English and then come into my home and sort of translate what I had just learned. So it created, this duality in my life that, it was a difficult thing to be able to articulate at the time. I didn't know that what that was going to be was going to prepare me for this career that I work in both languages. I work in the general market, in the English language market, and then I also work in the Spanish language market, which so I feel incredibly blessed. I mean, it's just such an exciting job. And no, I in a million years, had you asked me when I was younger how I was going to utilize my gifts of gab, that this would be the way it was going to come out, I had no idea.
And so, where did your journey begin? You mentioned that you were always observing people,
Yeah.
but did you aspire to be an on-camera performer initially, or do you still do that?
So, well, that's interesting that you would say that. I did do on camera. I was an on-camera host for a little while. I did on-camera entertainment reporting for a while. But it just so happened that my career sort of veered into the voiceover arena, and the opportunities happened to be there. And as you know, in this industry, many times you go where the opportunities go. And so there was a point where the opportunity sort of split, where I had the opportunity to do the on camera, but the voiceover was doing so well. I just chose to stay on the voiceover journey. It gives me such an amazing opportunity to do many things. I don't just do one thing. I don't just do the announcing. I also do promo work and commercial work, and I do a lot of different things within the voiceover world, because there are different genres within that world. For people who don't know, there's the promo work for television and film. There's movie trailers, that those are mostly for men for the most part. There's the live announce, there's radio imaging, there's IVR, which is internal voice recordings for companies, and there's narrations. There's so many different areas, books on tape. So you know, I love everything about that, because they're all so different, and they all utilize a different, I guess, discipline within yourself, knowing how to do these things. So it's like they're like puzzle pieces to me. I really, really enjoy that. But the on-camera thing is also something that I really enjoy, that I've been enjoying more now. I'm doing a lot more social media. I just started, and that's been really fun for me, because I get to sort of take people behind the scenes with what I do.
I know that this is a lot of fun for you, what you're
Yes.
doing. I mean, it's enjoyable. I've done on-camera work. I found it enjoyable. Little voiceover, nothing to the extent that you have been able to accomplish. But tell us about the preparation. I think a lot of us, we just don't know to get to the point and in your career that you've gotten to, and to achieve what you have achieved takes a lot of discipline and a lot of preparation.
Yes.
Talk about that. Tell us the secrets of becoming so successful.
So I think there's a lot of it's a multi-prong approach to get to be a successful voice actor, or whatever, in the entertainment industry. I think people have this idea that, you're talented, or you have an amazing voice, and so ta-da, ta-da, and it's not that, like, at all, at all. There's a lot of behind the scenes work that happens. And so a few things. I had to take a lot of classes, a lot of voice classes, acting classes. People think that it's about your voice, and it's really not. You need to be able to take direction. You need to understand your instrument. I think I've actually talked about this in some of the classes and conferences that I've given, where, because you have a very expensive, instrument, whether it's a violin or a piano, it doesn't mean you can join the jazz band, right? So you need to know how to play that instrument. It's the same thing with your voice, or with whatever your instrument happens to be. If you're an actor, right? So if it's on camera, you need to know, how does the camera work? Where's your spot? Where's the light hitting you? Where's the moment where you have to cheat the camera? Same thing with the microphone. Where is the proximity to the microphone? Who am I talking to? Who is my audience? What is it that the creative director and the client is going to require from me when I am reading the script? Because again, I I think one of the biggest things, and if somebody wants to get into voiceover, the number one thing that you need to take away from this entire interview with you is that it's not about your talent. Talent is part of it, but you need to be able to work as a team and remember that
Atención,
you are
porque
just
en
a spoke
apenas
in the
15
wheel
segundos
of
sabremos
whatever
quién se
the
lleva el Latin
creative
Grammy a la
team
grabación del
is,
año.
whether, for voiceover, it's the engineer, it's the creative director, it's the producer, it's the copywriter, it is the client. You need to be able to work in a collaborative situation. And remember that, what is my goal for the client? What are we trying to do in this particular project? So, staying really focused on what my place in that particular project. What am I doing? Is there music? Is there visuals? Is it a television commercial? Is it a radio spot? Is it a promo? All of those things, is it an animated character? Am I stepping into a new project, or is it an existing project? So there are a lot of things that you have to remember. And I don't think people think about that too much, because how would you, when you first start out, you don't know that. And I think that what started it for me is I love stories. I love storytelling, all types of storytelling, and I love art, and everything that has to do with that. I love music. I love, you know, uh, any kind of storytelling, anything that makes you feel is incredibly moving to me. And I learn and I take away from all of those things and I use it in what I do. Um, but the thing that got me hooked is when I was a little girl, my mom used to buy me these storybooks, and they came with the audio. And the woman who would read the stories, this is before I could even read, I would listen to her, and I would listen to her intonation and her cadence, and I memorized all of the stories based on her storytelling ability. So I started to mimic, and I would close my eyes and just listen to her. And so before I even knew how to read, I was listening to stories. And for me, everybody has like a different way of learning, right? Whether you're visual, I'm totally auditory. I am 100%. So you tell me a story, and I can visualize it, I can think about it. And I think there's something really beautiful about the spoken word. I think there's something very primitive about that. If you take away the visuals and strip away all of that, I think, telling somebody a story, a well-written story, a well-spoken story, a well-told story, can take you into these places in your mind. And for me, that's everything. That's, I think, one of the reasons why am so I am so enamored of voiceover. And now, and I was in radio, and now podcasts are making a comeback because people love stories. They love a good story. So I don't know. Did that answer your question? I
Yes,
went off
it
on a
did. Yes, it did. It's part of, I wanted to ask you a little more about your upbringing. It seems to me that you must have had a very supportive family. This is the impression that I get, if you can speak to that.
Of course, absolutely. So yes, my mom and dad came here from Mexico, from Sonora, from Nogales, Sonora, and they came here. And my mom was, a stay-at-home mom. My dad worked, and I think that they didn't really think too much about this particular career. I don't think this was on their vision board, but well, I mean, it wasn't even on mine, to be perfectly honest. But my dad did work in the industry. He worked in the movie industry. He started working at a company called Azteca Films, which was the first Mexican film distributor in the United States, and they had a offices in Chicago, New York, San Antonio, I think, and here in Los Angeles. And so my dad, worked his way up and ended up heading up the company. So I was around the industry for a very long time. So I understood how the business worked because I would sit in on, conversations with producers and directors and actors, and I saw the behind the scene negotiations and conversations that my dad would have with the producers, the directors, on how to distribute a film, how to market the film. So I did learn a lot about. I think that's where my understanding of the collaboration process, that it is not about me or the actor, or it really is there is a business to be run in the entertainment world. And so I think I understood that early on, and how can I be of service to that project. So, but yeah, and I think that that's probably one of the reasons why my dad felt very comfortable with being very disciplined at home, that, Spanish will be spoken at home and you will learn English out in the world. And that's just the way it's going to go. And of course, I did not like it at the time. I was incredibly embarrassed. But if had it not been for, my dad, I would not speak Spanish. I would not have the career that I have today. So, yeah.
Yes, well, I mean, that's wonderful. There's very few people who can be successful in both languages. But take us back maybe 25 years ago,
Hmm.
maybe a little before that, when there were some challenges, from what I understand, uh,
Yes.
about people maybe not quite understanding that you could do
Hmm.
both. Tell us about those years before you became, quote unquote, the voice of God, female voice of God. Tell us about
Yes. Yeah. So when I first started, I was well, I started in Spanish radio, and then I heard within the radio industry that there was this, thing called voiceovers. And if you got an agent, they would send you on auditions and you could book jobs and you could actually get paid for doing a voice commercial, which in radio, that doesn't happen. It's part of your job. And so I was so excited about that. Then I thought, oh, okay, I think I can do that. Of course, I didn't realize it was going to be that complicated, because it is so much more complicated than just, using it's like reading words. And I did not know that. So, but at the time, I was only doing Spanish language work. That was it. So I got my first agent, and he signed me only to do Spanish language commercials, and send me on Spanish language auditions for radio, television, also on camera. And I was so excited to even have an agent, that for like a year or two, I didn't question it. I was just like so excited. But then I was, I was wondering, why are you not sending me out for, English language? I speak English. And so I didn't have the courage at that time to ask. Like, I think the first year or two, I couldn't, because I was just so excited and thankful that I even had an agent and had an opportunity. So I think it was like the second year that I asked him, if why he wasn't sending me out for general market English language work. And he said, you don't really have anything special going on with your voice. And I remember being, first, I think I was shocked, because I thought, so you're okay with sending me out on Spanish language stuff and taking my 10% for the Spanish language stuff, but then when I'm like, what I want to do is I want to work in both languages, because that's who I am. I live, I think, I dream, I exist in two different languages. Why are you just taking one part of me, and you don't get to get one part without the other? And so, and I think that again, I think it was my maybe it was my upbringing, maybe it was having watched my dad negotiate, that I thought, you know what? I'm not staying with somebody who isn't going to fully believe in who I am and what I can do. And so I went out looking for a new agent, and I actually found an agent that believed in me, and she was absolutely wonderful. But it was a huge issue because I realized working with her that I was not being called in for these auditions in English. The casting directors wouldn't see me, and the clients were not open enough to think. And again, it was a different time, that somebody who spoke Spanish could also speak English. It just did not exist in their mind that you could do both well. And so, and I think we had this conversation before. It was in 2000 when or 1999 when Ricky Martin performed at the Grammys, and here's this young, vibrant, super talented, uber talented bilingual Latino, and then it was Salma Hayek, it was J Lo. There were so many new up and coming sexy Latinos. Then it was like cool to be Latino. And then all of a sudden the opportunities started to present themselves. And that was when my career really changed, because then the opportunities, then it was like, oh, so there are Spanish language people who can do general market work. And so maybe we can get two for one kind of a thing. And so, yeah, I started auditioning, and because I was already working in the space, I just seamlessly sort of jumped in. It was, I mean, it was still not easy, because again, there's still a lot of there were still a lot of obstacles, because at the time it wasn't that diverse, and that was not, unless they're looking for something, they would use the examples. They'd say, well, can you spice it up a little? Can you give it a little more urban flair? Can you like that kind of, can you throw a little more, yeah, so yeah, a little salsa in there, is that kind of the euphemisms, right? To ask for more of an accent, or that kind of thing. So but yeah, I mean, you go with what they're wanting and needing. So
You have been such a wonderful role model for not only, as you said, Latinos, but women as well. And you are giving back. I took a look at your Instagram page, and I see that you have some tutorials. In the last few minutes of our interview, tell us about what your mission is in posting those.
I think that because when I was starting out, there were no real mentors or examples of successful um, Latinos or women, really. And it was just so it was so closed off. And so I think that and especially in this last year, with the way Latinos are being portrayed, I think it's really important. And I think I have a duty as a woman, as a Latina, as a successful Latina, to be the person I did not have, because I know that there are other people who want to do what I do. And there isn't anybody creating this, I guess, this sort of, I want to be that person for the me that was starting out, that to see that it is possible. I enjoy my job so much. I love what I do. I love the people I meet. I love the clients that I work with, and even the difficult pieces of the job, that there are a lot of things that are incredibly stressful and incredibly complicated. I love that too. It's not just your job and breaking down a script. It's also showing up, and there's a certain emotional IQ that is required to work with clients and with, people that are looking to create something, for whatever platform that happens to be. There's also the professional part of, do I look nice? I want to be respectful to, people's whatever, space, remembering people's names, remembering things about those people or their families, or, things that I like about them, or, things that they don't like. And something really basic, like one of the things that I posted about is like, don't wear perfume, just smell clean, take a shower, do your hair, put on a little makeup. When you're showing up to a studio, there are people who are, who have an issue with scents, or, they have an issue with, with hugging. So you don't want to hug, they're not huggers. And as a Latina, it's like, oh, hi, you want to, and working in the Latino market, it's like, oh my God. So you have to know how to exist and coexist with other people. So yeah, I think that's my goal in posting a lot of this stuff on social media, because I think those are things that people don't know when you're starting out. You don't know those things. You kind of figure it out as you go. And so, it's kind of my way of giving back. I really enjoy, being a part of my community, of being a part of not just the Latino community and giving back, but also the voiceover community and the acting community, actors who want to do voiceover. It's something foreign. You're still using your acting abilities, but in a very different way. So
A lot of people would like to hear some of your work. Tell us where we can go to listen to your voiceover tapes.
So I mean, obviously I do quite a bit of stuff on Instagram. So you can, well, I post a lot of my work on Instagram. But I also have some of my stuff on my webpage at sylviavillagran.com, and also I think a lot of the stuff that I post on Instagram goes on Facebook. So my social media is on there, and if you follow me, I kind of take you along. Like I posted a lot of stuff from the Latin Grammys. I also posted some of the stuff that I did backstage for, preparing for the Grammy nominations. And it's just a really fun, again, I really enjoy it, and I always think, what would me, not knowing anything, what would I be interested in watching and seeing and discovering? And so that's kind of what I post. So if you are interested in voiceover, if you're interested in, any of the shows, or just, how some of the inner workings, I post occasional, tutorials and suggestions on where you can take classes, or if you want to do a demo. So, I try to be as helpful as possible. So yeah, I hope it does. I hope, that the things that I post are helpful, because that is my goal, is to be, of service to my community.
Well, you have contributed so much to the industry, and you continue to contribute. So thank you very much for joining us for this program.
Thank you, Saida. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
And thank you for joining us for this edition of American Stories. I'm Saida Pagan.
He's an Emmy, Grammy, and Oscar-winning director, producer, and actor, and an inductee into the Television Hall of Fame. From the studio, please welcome Ron Howard.
That's a wrap.
It's a wrap.